What's going on with y'all boys? Another episode of Ray and Kyle Everything Sports Podcast. Today we're going to go over the 41-31 UNC over Miami victory. What you got to start, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest point of this game is really the turnovers. North Carolina comes out hot, drives on the field, and I think it was like 5 plays, touchdown, and then Miami comes right back down in about 6 plays, but then they fumble after one, and then, I mean that was really a testament of the whole game. Miami turned the ball over a lot, but also Drake May, he's got to be really hot in that Heisman conversation now. 273, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers at all. Um, Devontae Walker, also the receiver, 6 catches, 3 of those were touchdowns for 132 yards as well. And the running back Hampton had 2 fair carries for 197 yards and a touchdown. I mean, their offense is super, super legit. Drake May is playing like a top 3 quarterback in college football right now. And I think UNC is for real. They really are. Their defense leaves a little bit to be desired just because the first fumble that they had was a good pass out, but the 2 interceptions by Tyler Van Dyke were just awful throws that I don't think the top tier quarterbacks are going to make. So I am interested to see how they play against a little better competition because this was probably their biggest competition. And yeah, this game could have been a little closer, but it also wasn't as close as the score tells.
Yeah, I think the main thing for me, I mean, if you look at all the stats, they honestly look pretty close. I mean, total yards, only a difference of 16 overall, 42 to 508. Rushing yards was a big difference, 235 for UNC, 91 for Miami. And then you go down and you look at first downs. Miami only had 4 more. If you look at total plays, the exact same, 76 plays for both teams. If you look at time of possession, 8 seconds more for the whole game, 3 minutes and 4 seconds to 29 minutes and 56 seconds. So then you look at the main thing is, then you look at the turnovers. You got 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions, and a turnover on fourth down for Miami, and zeros all across the boards for UNC. That's the main thing. And then what made this game really close, that really worries me for UNC moving forward, was the penalties. 4 penalties for 147 yards. Got to clean that up if you want to be able to beat good teams. Because if you look across the board and you see all these stats as close as they are, and then you look and you see that neither team's turning the ball over or both teams turns the ball over, then you look at those penalties and they come to be a whole lot bigger of a factor. But when you have four turnovers and a turnover on downs versus 0, it's tough to win a game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you say, yeah, the penalties are a big concern, but I do really like Drake, man. I mean, he was making some big time throws. And Devontae Walker also. I mean, they've got a lot of talent at UNC, but like you said, playing those better teams, the penalties can come back to bite you. So that is a little bit of a concern for UNC.
Yeah, they have a really good receiving core, especially they got Hampton over there. He had like a crazy rushing game. 24 carries for
Yeah,
197 yards on the ground. 197 yards on the ground is crazy. Then you got Walker who had 132 yards receiving. So it's just a really loaded offense with Drake May being a highly in the Heisman conversation, sneakily having one of the best games. And honestly, I mean, he's just not up there. He's not getting talked about as much as like the Bo Nixes and teams like that because he's not in those powerful conferences. He's probably in the worst Power 5 conference, and he's not playing those amazing teams like Caleb Williams playing Notre Dame. So I think as it keeps going and it gets later down the stretch and this UNC team gets up to 8-0, 9-0, 10-0, I think he's going to be more and more in the conversation as his team becomes more and more relevant.
it was also, I mean, UNC really doesn't have a test for another 3 weeks. They play Virginia, then Georgia Tech, then Campbell, and then they play Duke at home, and then Clemson. But after that, I mean, so it's really two games, really one. And in that Duke game, we hope Riley Leonard returns to that game. If not, that probably won't be much of a game. But if he does, that will be their biggest test. So I'm curious to see how that game goes. And then Clemson at Clemson is always a tough game. So I mean, they don't really have a super tough schedule, so we can see this team going undefeated and maybe sneaking in.
I don't know that they'll have a game within 10 points until the ACC championship game against Florida State. And that's going to really be a game to watch because more than likely both those teams are going to be undefeated.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, I'm not a big believer in Florida State. So right now, I mean, if I had to put them against each other, I would honestly take North Carolina because I'm not a believer in Florida State. Also, Jordan Travis for Florida State has been getting banged up a lot lately. So I mean, hopefully he comes in there healthy. But if he limps into the ACC championship game and they're playing a hot North Carolina team, I think some things get shaky.
Yeah, I loved Florida State going in, but I'm slowly starting to shift it more towards UNC because this UNC team now that they're playing good competition, they're They're starting to show me
He's
something. And
balling.
Drake May is continuing. We saw what he was doing against bad teams, just like Caleb Williams. We saw what they were doing
Yeah,
against bad teams. What can you do against the good teams? And we're seeing it. I mean,
exactly.
273 yards and 4 touchdowns is nothing to look away from.
Exactly. And the biggest thing, no turnovers. I mean, you beat bad teams and you beat good teams the same way. You don't turn the ball over. You don't give them hope, and that's what they've been doing.